Hello, this is David Baumblatt from Terabint Leadership. Today's episode, we are going to be talking about the decline and the continued decline of American Europeanness, Christianity, and freedom. There's a war going on overseas. We all know that, and I'll probably do another video on that on Saturday or Sunday. 82nd Airborne, which interesting. I know a little bit about that unit. It's going in. So there's a lot going on with the war. We all know that. And it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that America is in yet another war. But the point is, what are we fighting for? When we in our country, Christianity continues to drop, European, meaning if we win this war, like all the other wars, which we lost, but we'll say we win this one we're going to win. Is that going to increase the Christianity in America? Is that going to increase the Europeanness in America? We're talking European race and culture. And the freedom, the amount of censorship. We'll go into some censorship here. So we're going to focus on the domestic issue. And one of them is absolutely this diversity in America is creating more and more. If you don't like the term white genocide, people get that. Either way you look at it, the decline of the white race in America. It is. So the point being is what's this war? We have problems domestically that are happening, yet we're fighting this war overseas. Doesn't make sense. We're going to go into some quick news. Then we're going to go into this diversity issue, and we're going to connect it with China, which is interesting enough because it's getting easier and easier to connect issues with China. Why is that? Because China's growing in significance. And this is from issues from Black people in America. And oh, by the way, a lot of Black people in America don't get China. You'll get it when I do these videos. But then again, most Americans don't get it either. Let's do this on the news. And then you kind of see again, where are we going in this country? And then why are we in this war overseas? Is this going to increase our situation of home here? Is that going to improve our lives? Let's go to the first one here, and that is, so the first one, let me make sure, this is supposedly Olympics, breaking news, trans women athletes, let me make sure everyone can see that, okay. Trans women athletes are banned from the Olympics, stuff like that, and what did I say? Oh, I totally disagree with this. And so let me just make it very clear here. I fully support trans women competing against women, fully. And I say this to women, so let's just knock this out of the block right now. And this goes to, again, Christianity, our European race, which you women are not becoming mothers. You're failing in your job. I get it. White men are also failing in our job, and we are ultimately to blame. I have no doubt about it. But you white women are failing in your job to become mothers, and again, freedom. So what does this mean? The same reason I said, women, you never should deserve the right to vote. It's very simple, and we got to wait for another episode. We have a lot to talk about. But to the white women in America, if you don't understand the amount of anger that white men have, I'm going to lay it on you. Part of leadership is you have to decide. You can't, this is not Burger King. You can't get it your way. And what's the decision? We will let you decide. We can have a country called feminism where you and men are treated equally. Then you can vote. Or we can have a society that's a traditional. The problem is we live in a society where women constantly want their cake and eat it. They want to be traditional, protected in some cases, and they want equal rights the other. Can't do this. It's the same thing. So if we lived in a feminist society, which we do, there would only be one sport. Men, women, and transsexuals all competing on that sport, which actually I prefer because then women, you would never attain high status athleticism. So you could end that dream and begin another bigger dream, and that's to become a mother. If you don't get that, don't worry, there'll be in other videos, but make it known. I fully support transsexuals in women's sport because women, your dream of becoming a second rate athlete, you're never going to be as good as men. It's a broken dream. Become a mother. Motherhood will make you much more happy than whatever gold medal you're going to get at the Olympics. Anyway, let's go on to the next here. This is pretty interesting. So this is Dan Bongino. Now remember, let me make sure I go here. This is Danny Bongino. Now remember, when I told people about Dan Bongino, when I first came on social media, people wouldn't believe me. Look at the amount of followers Dan has. He's got like, what is it like? It's over 7 million, 7.4 million followers. And he's blocked me, obviously. This is let me go down. Yeah, so there he goes. So he's blocked me. The point being is it's quite amazing. With over 7 million followers, him and his goon squad, I have 1,000 followers. I am absolutely nothing. I'm a blip on this screen. But the point is, the amount of censorship, I hope you read that in terms of his taxpayer. Just hopefully everyone's read that, what I've said there. But hey, Golden Tulip, I see you morning 10 a.m. in California here. So what I want to do is think of Dan Bongino right now and just think, this person was the deputy director of the FBI. He had a duty. Now he blocks me again. Remember when I told you this on my first X, which was very odd, he blocks me and unblocks me. Whether that's Dan or Dan's got so much money now, he's probably has a team, which I say again, the only reason that Dan quit the FBI was because of money. If Dan wasn't a grifter podcaster making millions of dollars to quit, how many American men would quit being the deputy director of the FBI? Rarely. I mean, that's like once in a, it's an unbelievable job to include money too. It's a good paycheck, that job. But Dan said, screw it, I want the money. But you're telling me Dan didn't know who I was before, during the FBI, and then after, and he blocks me? What a piece of shit Dan is. And I'm telling you, you haven't seen anything. This country's going to split, which I also want to make it known now. This is why the system is not fair anymore in America. And that unfairness eventually will lead to vigilante justice. We're talking Civil War guns and ammo. You know what I mean? Like when we grew up, if you're not successful, it just means you're lazy. You didn't work hard. This system is so corrupt now. I don't believe people that are rich, even like Elon Musk, he's just there because he's smart, hardworking. There's so much corruption. I'm going to give you an example. If you're doing social media, which now I am, and it deals anything with religion, politics, leadership, because it all connected. If you didn't pass through the gatekeepers, these would be the you're not going anywhere. Whereas if you were doing a channel, we'll just say a baking channel, you know, it doesn't really have to do with politics, leadership, religion, anything that's basically very influential on people, then it could be true. Meaning I have a YouTube channel and it's about baking cupcakes and I'm ranked #1 and I have 1 million followers and it's all about baking cupcakes. You're probably good. You probably got that way. You know, there could be other factors because you are really good at baking cupcakes or whatever. It is basically competence. But if you're like Dan Bongino, I guarantee Dan Bongino years ago when he got on Fox News, if you get on any of these, again, we're talking politics, leadership, religion, anything that's influencing social media to the masses, you must be approved by the gatekeepers that be. Again, the amount of censorship that I had, and this guy, Dan Bongino, says he's a patriot, and he was a former FBI where he had a duty to investigate FBI corruption, and now this piece of shit blocked me. 7 million viewers. I'm surprised he even knows about me. No, they do know about me. It's just, it gets you to the point. It's like really pathetic. All right, let's go. We're just going through the news here quick. Let's go. I want to go through this again because I really think this is important. This is a really good video. Let me make sure we bring this up. This is actually a really good video where we're getting into, again, what is National Socialism? Because I think a lot of people agree that these Republicans and these Democrats, they both really suck. And so let me play this video again. I think it's pretty interesting.
For it. That's her fault. Do you think this country would be fine if we were to fire 50% of the laziest government employees?
Probably not.
Why? What would
Half the government workforce seems like a lot of things would probably start to fail or not work anymore.
Like what?
I mean, I imagine that like wait times for like if you have to call in for your taxes would go up. Probably applying for like Medicare, there'd probably be a lot more waste, fraud, and abuse, and a lot of.
Why do we even have Medicare?
Why do we have Medicare? So that old people have some base level medical assistance.
Shouldn't the old people be able to just get healthcare on their own paradigm, on their own dollar?
What if they don't have money for it?
Well, then that's their fault. I mean, we live in a world that if you work hard, you'll get a.
Does anyone else wonder if this kid ever served in the military? If his family ever served in the military, died for this country?
A very successful life. If you don't work very hard, you'll get a very crappy life, and you might die at the age of 64 due to prostate cancer because you can't afford chemotherapy.
I feel like there's enough money to be made in this country by people that are incredibly successful that it takes very little from them to make sure that like everybody else is doing pretty good. I think that it's probably important that the people that make the most money in this country are able to pay a little bit more to help other people who don't have access to the same types of talents.
Why should we babysit these people who can't
Yeah, who gives a fuck about these people? They're just American citizens. Fuck them.
afford that?
Because they're the people that allow the other people to function.
So what I want to do is look what I wrote here, and this is what I'm trying to tell you about how National Socialism is rising. Both of these people, even the first guy, I'm telling you, he is a globalist communist. So I don't favor either opinion, and I hopefully you read what I'm talking about here in terms of one's a communist, one's a global capitalist. But I'm telling you, and here's the point, it's going to happen because in this video, there's a short clip from Tucker Carlson. He's becoming educated. I am telling you, the Western world order is declining. The Western world order after World War II has been led by America. We are under decline. So is the West. And this Western world is run by globalism. The non-Western world, not just China, non-Western world, India, I mean, you look at Indonesia, whatever, is growing. And their form of government is nationalism. So a lot of Americans, sooner or later, you're not going to have to travel to the non-Western world to learn what National Socialism is. It's coming. But what I'm trying to do is look at that video. That's a great clip that shows the typical, you could say the typical lefty and the typical righty, you know, the typical Republican, and they both suck. They both suck. One, this Republican is a typical selfish, greedy piece of shit. Same reason they're not going to die for this country in these wars. They love these wars, but they're not going to die. But then you got the communists. It's like, come on, man, let's all come together, man. We're all one big world, like we're communism. No, that doesn't work. I just want to put that in because I'm telling you, you're going to see a change in government. That was also part of the reason why Trump was so popular. America first is a nationalist ideology. But he's not carrying out a lot of this national ideology, particularly this war in Iran. That makes no sense. But anyway, let's go to the next part here. We're just going to go through some stuff. 1 second. Let me share it here. All right, so here we come. This is this is just some retarded people, MAGA. So I said, so this guy Vincent, he's like, MAGA, man, it's definitely not falling apart. I think I said something here on my clip. I said, yeah, I said, MAGA's falling apart, boom, boom, boom. And this guy's like, yeah, man, MAGA's not falling apart. Really? These people have no clue what it is. Patriotism falling apart. And this guy, Vincent, just the next guy, can he even repost? Nah. You're going to see it's a lot of retarded stuff. Let's keep coming here. Who's this guy, Phil? Same thing. These MAGA people, you're going to see MAGA change. Meaning, just like Donald Trump called out the Republican as the rhinos, MAGA is also going to split. Just give it time. This one's interesting. I've been saying this. This guy, Derek Van Oden, is a Navy SEAL. He's a piece of shit. Now, he's a congressman. Picture David. Or Derek. I just want everyone to emphasize this. These Navy SEALs are some of the biggest bullshit artists I've ever seen. It's like they do push-ups all day and they think they're tough guys. They're not as tough as you think. I know it's contrary to Hollywood, but think about it. This guy, Derek, who's a congressman. His money, he's a former Navy SEAL congressman. His money comes from your paycheck. He has a duty to investigate government corruption. He knows exactly who I am. I've written many times. And there he is, Mr. Navy SEAL. What does he do all day as a congressman? Beep, beep, Twitter, beep, 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 beep. And it's like, hey, Derek, why don't you do your fucking job? I'm a military veteran of government corruption. What, are you too afraid? What, are you too lazy? You don't care? Absolutely. The Navy SEALs are some of the biggest bullshit artists I've ever seen. They also need to be defunded. But here it is. It's just a lot of these people that supposedly young kids look up to. It's overrated. I'm telling you, you're going to see it in the military. Now look at this. You got this woman named Lily Tan. She's a Chinese woman who's, I guess she could be the next congressperson. Are you kidding me? A Chinese woman. Let me make sure it comes here so you could see it. You have a Chinese woman about to become a congressperson. I mean, if you're a white man in America and you're voting for a Chinese woman to be your leader, then the Chinese, they don't really need to do a war, man. They don't need to be a war. But I'm an American military veteran. I'm not welcome back in America. And we got a Chinese who's going to become our leader. Basically, I rest my case in terms of where America's going with that. Then we got this. This is interesting. Make sure. It's pretty bad when you have China talking about the corruption in America. Because I agree, there is a lot of corruption in China. But you know the difference? The corruption in China is dropping and the corruption in America is rising. Just is. I would put the corruption in China more than America. But the corruption's dropping and the corruption in America is rising. But it's pretty pathetic when you've got China calling out Donald Trump. Then you got some other stuff. Yeah, I don't want to go over some of this stuff. I think is overrated. You got this right here that I think is stupid. You got Bill O'Reilly, who's a globalist. He's talking about, let me make sure everyone sees this. You got Bill O'Reilly talking about how San Francisco is falling apart. Okay, then why are we overseas? Literally, why are we overseas and spending our money? All right, let's get to today's episode. This is going to be interesting. I'm going to start out with 2 small clips that is going to really center on it, and then we're going to go to this video. But again, we're talking about white genocide, just these clips. And I want you to know that this Chinese person, he's not speaking propaganda. This is everyone in China. I mean, not everyone, but we'll just say 99.99% of the Chinese. There's no money involved. It's the same thing like me. There's no money involved in my propaganda. I just wanted to be left alone by the FBI. They didn't respond to me. They continued to destroy my life, and the only thing I could do was go on social media. There's no hidden agenda. There's no hidden agenda with a lot of the Chinese, just like Americans. Now, you could say the Chinese are brainwashed, but then you could say the Americans are brainwashed. What do I mean? Diversity is our strength. Where did that come from? The Americans are brainwashed. So there are things that we like to, or we're racism, right? You know, America's racist. So there's 2 quick clips. Watch this clip, and we're gonna do this again, but it's pretty interesting.
Someone asked.
Let's go through this here. 1 second.
If you just walk the streets of any major city in the West. So there's a joke in China and popular.
I'm telling you that, and let me tell you the difference is there's not many people in this world who can understand both cultures at the same time. Meaning I'm an American, born and raised in America, graduated West Point, also Harvard and FBI. So you could say I understand the American system. You know, my family immigrated to America in 1850. So you could say I'm an American, which it's easier said than done now because I don't know who an American is. We'll get to that later. And I know more about China than anyone in the United States government. So what does that do? It allows me to compare and to give you this knowledge. What this man is saying on here, it has nothing to do with propaganda or him being a professor. This is what I wrote this in my book. This is what a common Chinese person will say. Just a regular yoki doki Chinese person will say about the West. We have a major problem. But for some reason, if it comes from a Chinese man, this is how disrespectful it is. I'm an American, but I'm censored. But if a non-white, because we're petrified with racism in America, only from white people. That's also what we're brainwashed in America. Only white people are racist. But you can't say this if you're white. Even as a military veteran, I get no respect. But if a chinky Chinese guy says it or a black guy says it, man, then white people start saying, oh. So let's see what he says. But I'm just trying to say, this is normal in China in terms of what the Chinese people think about the West.
Chinese don't actually like to go to Canada for tourism. And someone asked, why doesn't anyone recommend Chinese going to Canada? And the response was, well, would you recommend someone going to India? Right? So it's a bit racist. It's very racist, okay?
Don't worry, the racism in China is through the roof. I kind of like it because unlike America, where we bullshit ourselves and we talk through our asshole, just like the dumb MAGA people will say, ha, 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 look at those libtards. Sounds like we're in high school. These terminology, too, is very feminine. It's very cuckness. We come up with these cool names, and we're like, look at those libtards. They say gender isn't real. Ha, ha, ha. And the same cuck MAGA guy will be like, yeah, I don't think race is real. But the Chinese, in many of these topics where we're either stupid or we're just afraid, the Chinese will say it. And what's one of those topics? Race. They'll just say it immediately. And they will say, if I wanted to go on vacation, if I wanted to go overseas and be with Indian people, I will go to India. I went to Canada because I want to hang out with white people. And they look at a guy like me as I am the stereotypical American, meaning if you're not white in their eyes, they don't consider you American. And they say it. Let's keep going with this short clip.
But I mean, it's obvious to people.
It's just interesting because, like, I'm not defending the whites. I am white, of course, but white people have done a lot of bad things, just like people do a lot of.
You could tell Tucker Carlson, he's still got a cuckness to him. He was a real cuck in Fox News, even though I guess he's the best we got. But he's come a long way, but he's still delicate. Like, for instance, when I say the word nigger, it's an impolite term. And I don't think you should say it if you're angry or maybe you're telling a joke, but I would never recommend saying that word. Just like you shouldn't call a person an asshole. That's also a very impolite word. But the amount of fear that we have on the N-word, what's the N-word? You mean nigger? It's so pathetic. In China, they call them hate. Again, I'm not saying to say this word. It's an impolite word. And you should teach your children basically not to. Even my father, who's a former U.S. Navy sailor in the U.S. Navy, he would say how a lot of Navy guys cuss like sailors, and it's a bad habit. We all know that. So there's no doubt about it. These are bad words, and you shouldn't say them. But to have this sort of atomic bomb sort of theory, like, oh my God, the N-word. No. I'm a military veteran and I fought for free speech. If you want to say nigger, it's your freedom. I wouldn't recommend you saying it because it's an impolite word, but we're not going to dance around it because I'm telling you, the Chinese don't dance around these words.
Bad things. But in general, people like to go on, as you just noted, vacation in white countries because they're pretty nice. So I think you'd have to say, if you took the emotion out of it and just like looked at it, net, whites have been, pretty big addition to the world, invented a lot of stuff, created a lot of beauty, created places people like to go on vacation, which really is a good test. So, like, why would you destroy all that?
So it's interesting because I think I wrote this in my book. There was a story of, I have a Chinese friends. Hey, Mighty Megatron. I had a Chinese friend and he took his wife and children to Paris for a vacation. And oh, by the way, the Asian people are very racist. But if you're going to be a foreign race in Asia, the best is white. Oh my God, the best is white. And we're going to get into this topic later. So they basically, like the entire world, when they go on vacation, they send their kids to college or Western countries. So he wanted to go to Paris. He went to Paris. Now, remember, the Chinese, for lack of a better word, unlike especially the Americans, they're more safety conscious. Where we in America live in a much more violent world, they can get more scared in these multicultural, violent environments. And he said he was shocked beyond belief, and I can attest to that. Paris has been turned into an absolute shit hole. You go to Paris, the amount of Arabs and Africans. And he said the same thing. He goes, I was amazed. He goes, I could not believe how few white people were in Paris. He was so nervous about the safety of him and his children. They ended their vacation early and they went back to China. And he told me, if I wanted to hang out with black people, I would have chosen Africa as my vacation. And I'm telling you, to white people, this stuff, this forced diversity is only in the Western countries. And it's not because of China or Russia or whatever terrorism or Islam. This is because we have been betrayed by our own globalist government and globalist corporations. But I say again, we're going to do one more quick clip, and then we're getting into the main clip. But there are so many clips that I could do with this Chinese. But many people think that this guy, John, he's working for the Chinese government. He's getting paid. He might. I'm not going to doubt that. But sometimes you focus on the message and not the messenger. And I can tell you one thing. I'm not getting paid anything from the Chinese government or any government in the world. You look at my podcast, what I say, it's pretty obvious. I'm not getting paid by anyone. And I'm telling you, what he's saying, it's not propaganda. It's the normal view of non-Western countries. You go to India, you go to China, you go to Japan. That's how they look at it. And they think Poland and Hungary. Oh, yeah, there was something I got. So Mighty Megagram solves the Kalergi ban. Yeah, we're also going to have to talk about Israel. And I say it, and I have lost so many of my Jewish friends. I do believe, though, there is a difference between Jews and Zionism and even Judaism. I get it. It's a sensitive topic, but I would say the most sensitive topic in the West. It's even not, even you dumb black people, if you think you're the most protected, if you go up against Jews and Israel and Zionism, you are going to get your pee-pee smacked. And which goes into what I said before. I would probably say the most controversial and censored topic is, again, Adolf Hitler, World War II, the Nazis. It all relates to the Jews. So you have to admit it. And of course, we always like to say, not all Jews, there's good Jews. We get it. But there is something going on with these Jews. And why do I say that? Because even the goddamn Chinese see it. This is not coming from the Chinese government. I'm telling you, I'm going into normal Chinese restaurants and I'm eating in some of these restaurants with, you could say, uneducated Chinese people, just regular Chinese people. And they say, why do you work for Israel? Meaning we're talking America. Meaning they can see it. It's so obvious that I said, you see that, you see the Israeli connection with America? I said, yeah, absolutely. Now you got to remember, we don't have freedom of the press. So obviously when you go to different countries in Russia and China, but in China, the press in China, which I admit, like any country, is altered to make China look better. Totally get it. But they don't have this censorship that I've seen in the West about race, the Jews, the Nazis. And so you hear and see a lot of stuff that would never be permitted in the West, not even close. I just cannot tell you. Like, I'm going to give you just an example. The Chinese, they'll have costume parties, just like we have, not quite Halloween, sort of like Halloween, but I don't know, like in America, sometimes there's like a school event and you could do dress up. Like, I don't know if you ever heard of like cosplay in Asia, but sometimes they just do these dress up things. It's usually the younger kids, usually 30 years old and younger, and they dress up in all these weird things, a swashbuckler, whatever, a porno star, all these like costumes. To get dressed up as a neo-Nazi, meaning like an SS soldier in uniform, oh, it's normal, it's cool. What would happen in America if a kid for Halloween said, Mom, Dad, I want to dress up as an SS Nazi officer? I mean, it'd probably make the news and, racist, right? In China, nothing. So I'm just saying, when you live in these countries, they don't have the constraints. And so I want to bring it back. Something is happening, and it's been happening in the West for decades and decades. But the West was founded by strong white men. And when you take that away, it's over, people. What are we doing in Iran? I don't know. Probably the same thing we're doing in Iraq. Nothing's good's going to happen. Give it time. Let me do this. I see mighty Poland, Hungary, and Serbia. This is one thing. I'm not an expert on Eastern Europe, but I have a lot of friends. I don't want to sound, remember that news story where they said to Sarah Palin, remember when she ran for vice president? And they said, do you know about Russia? And she says, I could see Russia from my front porch. And they looked at her like as a joke. But living in Beijing, there is a huge Russian community in Beijing. I mean, it's big. And so even though I didn't live in Russia, this is kind of the comparison, but living in Beijing, it's huge. There is a major, similar how we have a Chinatown in America, it's basically a Russian town in Beijing. I mean, it's huge. Russian restaurants, Russian merchandise, import, export. And I hung out with a lot of Russians. And so what I'm saying is just like what Mighty Megatron said, is Eastern Europe is different. And so some people said, hey, I'm a white guy, and I'm going to do videos on where you should leaving America, because more and more people are leaving. It is what it is, people. I'm telling you, more and more Americans are leaving America. In fact, I should do a clip coming up here, but I'll wait later. But anyway, Eastern Europe could be an interesting thing because they don't have the politics that Western Europe and the West have. there is much more of a white consciousness in these countries where they want to keep it white. What happened to the West? It's kind of the same thing, meaning we won World War II. America's a superpower. We're going off to all these wars. How's life? You know, when Trump said we got to take Greenland back, okay, we take Greenland. Is that going to increase Christianity? Is that going to increase our European race? Is that going to give us our freedom back? I don't think so. So what's the point? What's the point of this Iran war? Let's go to this one clip, and then we'll go to the main clip here.
In 1790, the census.
Okay, so here's something. Let's just make sure we get out of the picture pretty quick. This country was not founded on immigrants. Our founding fathers founded America. They didn't immigrate. There was no country. They left a Europe which was pretty comfortable compared to America at that time, because America, it was dangerous. There weren't many, you could say, creature comforts, and they had to build it. And those are the founding fathers. So all this bullshit like the blacks helped us, the Chinese helped, well, okay, then why can't they build their own country? But this whole thing that America was built by immigrants, no. The first people that came, they were settlers. They never immigrated to America. They built America. Now, if you're a Native American, I keep saying I think I wrote it in my book, because I told you, the original manuscript was 500 pages. And my editor's like, and we cut it down to 250. So there's sometimes I say this and people are like, dude, that's not in the book. Sometimes it got cut out. But I do have sympathy for the Native Americans. We as Americans committed genocide. It is what it is. It's bad, and I agree with it. But I don't mind giving a little portion back to the Native Americans. But to the Native Americans, and I say this now before we forget, because this is about Israel, this is about Palestine, and I wish I could get this credit, but this came from my West Point classmate, and he said, listen, David, everyone says, what land does this belong to, right? Does America belong to the Native Americans? Does it belong to the Europeans? Does South Africa belong to the Europeans? Does Taiwan? Does Palestine? End of story. It's very simple. Or they say, does Israel have a right to exist? Yeah, what country doesn't have a right to exist? It's a stupid question. Here's the point. When you ask the question, what land belongs to what people, it's simple. Whoever is willing to fight and die for it. If the Taiwanese are willing to fight and die for their piece of land, they won't. Trust me, they won't. When America leaves, they're done. Then they can have whoever's putting their flag. So to the Native Americans, I believe genocide is wrong. I hope we all agree on that. But you lost and we won. We have America. But I do believe in giving you a part of it to make it your own sovereign country. I don't know. We have 50 states. Give them a state. Now, I think a lot of Americans are like, there's some cool clips about this guy going in America talking about Palestine and Israel. But I really think at the end of the day, to an American, do you support Palestine? Do you support Israel? I think most Americans like neither one, could care less. And so at the end of the day, who has a right to live in Israel? Whoever's willing to fight and die for it. Now, why are Americans getting dragged into this war to fight and die for Israel? Well, that's the whole conspiracy theory that no one's really answered. No one's really answered that. Meaning, I have no problem with the Israelis fighting and dying for Israel. And you might say, but that's not fair to the Palestinians. I'm sorry, dude. I'm not saying I'm a supporter of Palestinian, but it's the same thing with the Native Americans. What about the Uyghurs in China? Do the Uyghurs in China have an East Turkmenistan in there? Whoever is willing to fight and die. And our forefathers were willing to fight and die. Same thing like Greenland. I'm telling you, to you Danish cucks, if you're not willing to build up your military, America's going to take Greenland. But if you're willing to stand firm and say to America, don't take it, along with the same thing, you're going to defend it against China and Russia, then it belongs to you. But at the end of the day, it's a sad story on, you could say, the laws of the jungle. But whoever is willing to fight and die for a piece of land and put their flag on that land, that's who it belongs to. Because if you go back in history, these lands turn over, who knows? And so that's the end of things. So when I get in these debates about Israel and Palestine, you know what I say? It's their thing. But why are we spending our taxpayer money? Why are American soldiers dying for it? Well, you do it, not me. I don't spend any of my tax money, and I'm not dying for it. Let's go. Let's see. Mighty Man, let the Semites fight. If not, it's not. South Africa is falling apart. I've got a lot of South African friends in China. I've told you the story. It's falling apart. In fact, most people don't know when South Africa was ruled by whites, it was considered the Switzerland of Africa. Beautiful. I mean, most people don't know. A lot of Europeans would use it as a vacation spot. What they did with this apartheid, giving it back to the black, it's over. It's over, people. But, you know, it is what it is. But it's a good topic because now we're going to talk about blacks in America. And if anyone thinks it's a great idea that blacks become the majority, go take a look at South Africa. And I make it known, all the blame that is happening in America in the West is on the white man. The same thing with South Africa. South Africa, you whites created, most Americans don't know, it was a phenomenal country. But for whatever reason, political pressure, cuckness, you just said, we don't want to be racist anymore. And you let 90% of the population, which are blacks, rule. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know what would happen with that thing. And so South Africa is a goner. It's going to happen in America if we don't take a stand. Okay, let's go. Let's finish this. This is again about America.
Where do white Americans come from? The number one country is not the one you would expect. From the
He's talking about Germany. Germany, though, is number 2.
The days of the 13 colonies until the end of the 20th century, around 80 to 90% of Americans were white. In 1790, the Census Bureau published estimates of the colonial American population, also known as colonial stock or old stock American. Over 60% of them were of English origin, and close to 80% were either British or Irish. Another census was conducted in 1920, which included figures for the total population and post-colonial stock. British and Irish descendants still made up the majority of the white population. But at 23%, Germany was the main country for Europeans who arrived during the post-colonial period. There was also a significant amount of immigrants from Poland and Italy. A 2015 study using data from 23andMe customers found that British and Irish was still the number one ancestry among white Americans, followed by French and German and Scandinavian ancestry.
I actually think, though, there could have been more Germans. In fact, most people don't know, but when our national language was voted on, German lost by 1 vote. And I think a lot of it has to do with World War II. Before World War II, man, I forgot. Obviously, I'm from New York. I was going to do a video on the German culture in New York City before World War II. So much German culture, so much German language. But then obviously World War II, Adolf Hitler, there was anti-German, a lot of Germans, language, stuff like that. But I would say if there are 2 countries that stand out that say, where did America form our origins? Britain, the UK, and Germany, which is another reason when I talk about, I give advice for Americans to leave America. Well, I don't want to change the subject too much, but if you're an American and you go to Germany or you go to Britain, I think is obvious, the language and stuff, you'll find that there's a lot of similarities. So meaning going to Western Europe, you'll find a lot of the similar globalist problems in America. The good thing, though, is it's not going to be as cultural shock. Why? Because these are where our forefathers came in. If you're an American, like these cuck MAGA people always say, we're a patriot. If you're a patriot, then you should be proud and you should respect our forefathers. And if our forefathers were alive today, what would they say? This is not what it was envisioned. This country was envisioned for leadership of white men. They would have never condoned women having sense of leadership, number one, and they would have never condoned non-whites. Does that mean hatred? Of course not. I'm living in China. In many ways, I have respect for the Chinese. Has nothing to do with disrespect. It's the same thing when you look at a woman and saying, listen, I think your place is motherhood and your place, it has nothing, it's sometimes respect. I don't want to see women in the military and do it. It's not their place. So the point being is if you're a patriot, you should respect our forefathers. This was never planned. Now we're going to go, I see Argentina. Argentina is interesting. I've always said, if I was a fluent Spanish speaker. Obviously, I studied Chinese. That was part of the reason I went to Asia. But I could tell you something. And the good thing is, if you're an English speaker, an American guy, learning Spanish or European language isn't that difficult. But Argentina, it's absolutely, that is a country I would definitely be interested in going. If I was an American white guy, usually the audience, I'm always thinking everyone's an American white guy. Argentina is definitely a country I would be thinking about. Let me look through this. Now let's go through one. Here's the video. And what's interesting is you'll see the correlation to, again, what are we doing in Iran fighting this war? Is this going to help our problems at home? Look what's happening at home.
When J.D. Vance goes, these peasants.
So here we go. You already kind of see who's talking. What I want you to see is first look at her shirt. I don't know who this woman is. You know this, but she's CNN. I don't even pay attention to these people, but she's like this, the anchor, the liberal anchor. Her shirt says, "Immigrants make America better." Really? The only immigrants that our forefathers were talking about were European immigrants. So if she's talking about European immigrants, then I would say yes. If she's not talking about European immigrants, no. Our forefathers would say no. But I want you to listen to this because they're going to talk about China, and they are going to talk out their assholes.
That's the big risk. China is playing a long game. They've been around for thousands of years, honey. We've been around for 250.
So first thing, as soon as I keep saying this, anytime I hear Americans use the word we. So she first said China's been around for 2,000 years. In some estimates, it could be up to 3 to 4,000 years. But anyway, China's been around for 2,000 years, and we've only been around, not we, sweetheart. We're not we. I don't consider America's splitting. So now we're in this group. You are African. So you might as well compare China to the Africans. But when I say the word we, as if I'm talking about my people, I'm talking European people. So the first run in there, I've said many times, you hear these people talk about Americans. We Americans. I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know who you're talking about. We're split. I mean, we can't even come together. Remember I said we can't come together with military veterans? Even look at MAGA people. You really think MAGA people are all together? So the first thing she says, we 200 years. Not us, sweetheart. That would be you.
They're like, go ahead, little baby. Go ahead and keep playing with us, toddler. We're going to sit back, and our Chinese.
Remember, now she's talking about Chinese, and she's got a sweater that says, "Immigrants make America better." Remember, I keep saying, how is China getting so powerful? China does not like immigration, and they don't like diversity. So this is what I'm saying. You see these dumb Americans say good stuff about China, but the political ideology of China, basically, think of Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. That's China. I mean, I look at the Chinese as the modern day neo-Nazis. They're not into immigration. And I'm telling you, to the black people, you could believe me now or believe me later, nobody has treated you better than the white man. You think I'm wrong? You wait until the Chinese, if the Chinese take charge of the world or even in America. Any black person knows, on average, white people treat black people compared to how Asian people treat black people, it's on another dimension.
Confucius way and wait for y'all empire to fall.
That's what.
So let me talk about these two Negroes. I like to use the word Negroes because it sounds more professional. So the first Negro to the left, and again, these could. I'm being very direct here. The Negro with the full suit on, I don't know this person. So I may come back and say, I apologize, I shouldn't have said that. But the guy on the right with the black t-shirt, he's a nigger. Now, why do I call him a nigger? He's from Nigeria. He immigrated to America and he shits on America. That's a nigger. Because most Africans would be very lucky to come to America. Like me. I don't walk around China like, fuck you, China, fuck you, chinks. I don't do that. I'm just a guest here, even though I wanted to fucking leave and the FBI flagged my passport. The point being is this guy left Africa, went to America. You could say he hit the lotto. And then he's in America and he shits on American. That's the definition of the word nigger. So I'm not going to take the guy in the suit, though. I don't know him. So I called him a nigger. That was probably wrong. And I apologize for that. And I call him Sometimes I use the word Negro, and Negro actually to me sounds more polite and better, a little bit of funny. But the guy in the black is a nigger.
Oh,
That's
wow,
that's crazy.
Victor Gao?
Yes.
Victor Gao said that to J.D. Vance.
Victor Gao is a major propagandist, but he works for the government. He works for the Chinese government, and it is what it is. But Victor Gao is a staunch China, well, I'm not going to say China supporter. He's China. But again, what you're seeing is there is a major mishap in communication between Black Americans and they're for China. They don't understand China is an ethno-state. China will never tolerate a multiracial country. So these people are like, yeah, man, China's the way to go. Guess what the Chinese say? Why do you allow all these blacks to live in America? That's what they say. So remember, the ideology of China is an ethno-state. They do not support multiracialism. And they tell me multiracialism is going to be one of the reasons that the West collapsed. So these black people are like, yeah, man, China's great. Okay, well, we'll see. We'll see China's ideology when it comes to having black people in America.
When J.D. Vance goes, these peasants, he says,
He called them peasants.
Mr. J.D. Vance.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
You called us peasants, but I'm proud to be from peasants. In fact, we went to the same law school. I went before.
Yes, so Victor Gao went to Yale Law School because guess what the Chinese love? They love going to Western universities. So when J.D. Vance called the Chinese peasants, you know how I looked at it? Yeah, 50-50, 50-50. A lot of these Chinese, don't fool yourself, they still want to be white. So where did Victor Gao go to law school? He didn't go to Africa. He didn't go to India. He didn't even go to China. He went to Yale Law School because like, I'm going to America. Because guess what? Because they like white people being the teacher. It is what it is. But in Asia, they are mesmerized by white people. They look at it, and they've said many times, they truly believe that if Adolf Hitler would have won the war, Germany would have been the most technologically advanced civilization that the world has ever seen. Do I disagree with it? It's an interesting question. I told you last time. Just think, take a guess. If Adolf Hitler would have won the war, what do you think Germany would have been in terms of development? So Victor Gao chose to go to university in America. Why? They look up to white people. They don't look up to black people. Sorry, but they look up to white people.
For you. Maybe you need to go back and review. And besides, China's 5,000 years old.
Come on.
You're only 200. So you're nothing compared to China.
Now, that is true. You have to understand, and the Chinese do, and I agree with them. We are a young country, and we're coming up on the timeline of our empire is declining. If you don't see how our empire is in decline, I don't know where. The whole reason that you're seeing me now, a former FBI agent on here, you're seeing our systems aren't working anymore. That piece of shit, Dan Bongino, who was the deputy director, who then blocks me on X, our systems aren't working. That is a sign where where an empire is in decline. The systems aren't working anymore. Violence is going to come up in a sense of vigilante. It's different in China. China is a rising power. The difference between China, I want to emphasize this, it's pretty interesting. In China, there are so many movies and sitcoms and series about the history of China. Why? Because the Chinese look upon their history as the glory days. And they admitted that China was a world premier power and there was a slip. And oh, by the way, a lot of this had to do with the West. It's called the Opium Wars, #1. And they want to regain that title. So it is true. They are looking, the difference, it's kind of the same thing. And I don't know if any of you guys are older, but you know that. Remember when you were in your 20s and you had this confidence, but it was sometimes we use the word in leadership, manufactured confidence or whatever. You hear the guy who drinks beer and it's artificial confidence. But when you get to be an older man in your 40s, in your 50s, that type of confidence is different. You don't give a fuck anymore. You know it. That's kind of China. China is a very old civilization. We're kind of new. In fact, now that I'm social media, I see how American men are acting, and it's very childish. So the point being is we're an empire falling. You could see it. China is rising, and they know it because they see their history and they know they had it, they want it back, and there's a lot of positive energies that they believe that this century is for them. I can't necessarily argue with that. What are we doing in America? Our systems aren't working anymore. This whole story with me is the most ridiculous thing. The amount of censorship that I've had, and even I talk about that piece of shit Navy SEAL named Derek, who sits every day with his little dick on X and ignores me, and this is the Navy SEAL. Our systems aren't working anymore. In China, what do I see? Their systems are getting better because their systems before had two problems: corruption, and it wasn't developed. Now you're seeing China, their systems, technology, infrastructure, legal system get more developed, and you are seeing corruption drop. What's happening in America? Our systems are getting worse. Our infrastructure is getting worse. The legality systems are getting worse. And what's also happening? Corruption. You can like Trump or not. I mean, I still like him, but he's one corrupt motherfucker. I mean, he and his grifting kids are making a fortune on the White House, along with his prostitute of a wife. I mean, you're just seeing in America, corruption's going up and our systems are going down. And you're seeing that. We are witnessing the change of a multipolar world in motion.
It would behoove you to, he crushed him. Mike dropped his ass.
Mike dropped his ass. And the reality is, if I'm betting, who are you going to bet on? The country that's dropping $1.3 million bombs on $20,000 drones in Iran, spending, what are we spending, $1 billion a week to bomb Iran? Every single bomb.
China's going to be so smart. It's the same thing with Afghanistan. You know, China's doing business in Afghanistan. So China saves a lot of money because when we do these wars, we lose blood and we lose treasure. Your taxpayer money. China doesn't want to. China will, and also we lose face because we turn more and more like the evil bully. What is China waiting to do? The same thing they did in Iraq and Afghanistan. Once the war's over, and trust me, they hate us. I mean, think about it. You think you as an American citizen can go now to Iraq and Afghanistan and say, here's my passport. I freed you people. Liberation. No. The Chinese will go there, but they're not going there with guns. They're just going there with business people. They don't give a shit. They're like, oh, you're Muslim. You do Sharia law. You cut people's heads off. You don't allow women to go to school. You know what the Chinese say? We don't give a shit. Don't give a shit. All we want to do is make money because they're like, we won't bother you in your country. Don't fuck with us. They're going to go in there and they're going to make money. We're going to go in there. We're going to expend our blood and treasure, I guess, for Israel. Now, Israel will get a benefit because we're defending Israel. But America, don't know what we're going to get. Your U.S. dollar, welcome to inflation and welcome for the body bags to come back.
We drop is $1.3 million. Every single drone Iran puts up is $20,000. So we're already in a deficit with this war. We're already by every time we drop a bomb. Trump has called Raytheon and the other big industrial military companies to come to the White House for emergency meetings to say, you need to produce more. We need more bombs because we're dropping so many and spending and wasting so much money. So we're now in the position the old Soviet Union was in. They spent themselves to death in Afghanistan. Their wars, they eventually they destroyed themselves. It wasn't Reagan that destroyed them. They destroyed themselves by fighting for 20 years in Afghanistan. We did Afghanistan for 20 years. We did Iraq for 15 years. We've now done Iran, which is now spiraling into a.
But the reason why I wanted to do this video is just think about it. We're doing all these wars. You're a typical American white man. How's life? Has it gotten better? This whole war on terror? I mean, I was in the FBI during the war on terror. Same thing with the U.S. military. Is it good? Now we're in Iran. I mean, what is the benefit? You know who's benefiting. There are people who will benefit from this war besides Israel. The Trump family will benefit, the military-industrial complex, there is a small segment of people who benefit from these wars. But as an average American said, this is how retarded I think Americans are. I've said this before. Picture the COVID virus. I have no doubt about it that if COVID-2 comes our way, everything that we learned in terms of the amount of coercion and lies that the United States government put on us Do you know what I believe that the average American citizen would do when COVID-2 comes, whatever it's called? You know what they'd say? Okay, I got to take the vaccine. They're going to do it. And you're going to say, what did we just learn from the COVID? This lying, deceitful government. You can't take the vaccine, man. No, man, I got to take it. We just went through Iraq and Afghanistan. Is this war really that different? Is this really apples and oranges like, David, I was against Afghanistan, I was against Iraq, but this war's different. It'll be the same thing COVID. It was like, David, I was against that COVID. I know it was a lie and falsely deserves to be in prison, but this vaccine is different. I guess that they lie to themselves. I have no doubt about it. It's going to happen. There's going to be another COVID pandemic, this new vaccine, and the same idiots before that were like, man, our government lied to us, really screwed. They're going to say, I guess I got to take the vaccine. And these are the MAGA people. You know, we like to blame the Democrats. The same MAGA people are like, man, I love Donald Trump. He's a nationalist. He's going to keep us out of these wars. These same dumb fucks are like, yeah, we need to put boots on the ground. I really think at the end of the day that I think humans genetically are engineered that only a higher percentage are the leaders and the rest are sheep. This also comes from Jew. This is my time in the synagogues with the Jewish people. There's a lot of racism with the Jews. Yes, they consider them chosen people and they look at other people as goyim. Now, it's going to sound bad. I think there's some truth in that. I think that a lot of people are just genetically engineered to be sheep. There's no way to change them. I mean, if you have any common sense of what happened with the COVID, I mean, I never even considered getting the vaccine. I didn't even consider it. And so we learned from it. We learned it was a fraud. We learned in terms of what they did. But I have a feeling that if the next pandemic happens next year, the same people would be like, I think I should get the vaccine. For the same reason that you're seeing MAGA people, man, we should be in Iran. We should do this war, man. We need to fit. It's like, what are you talking about? It was a complete. So I think at the end of the day, these, and I hear too, some of the Jews, they'll say it. They say, they are some stupid goyim people. But really, what do you do when you have low DNA people? I don't know. Even me, I talk to people, hey, I'm a whistleblower. Can you help me? And I really think at the end of the day, the system's going to go. Meaning there are forces of nature that's going to happen. Look at the people here in this video, the blacks. Do you realize how retarded they are? They hit the lotto. They're in America. They'll always complain that that the whites treat them bad, that this and that. But no matter what happens, it's the same thing over and over again. Meaning, what I'm trying to say is, you don't think there's a sense of a repeating nature. When I say nature, I'm talking about DNA. A repeating nature in terms of the planet Earth, the animal kingdom, to include the human race, that no matter how much you try to put culture, there's this DNA that it just is what it is. People are going to do it. But it's the same thing like the MAGA supporters like, man, we're going in Iran. I thought that was one of the main reasons that we voted for Trump not to go into Iran. You know, Iraq and Afghanistan were failures. This is different. Okay. Then you're going to see a new vaccine's going to come, a new pandemic, and this is different, man. This time, this vaccine, we got to do it. And what do when a lot of time, what I've realized in life, just let people go. That's what I'm saying. My videos, if I get completely suspended and censored and just dropped off the face of this earth tomorrow, it doesn't matter. The predictions are going to go. The laws of nature are going to go. And I say it without a doubt. Collapse, revolution, and civil war. It's just going to happen. No matter what happens, forces of nature are going to go. And it's that old saying, you can drag a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. It's just there's DNA involved in this game of life, and there's no getting around DNA. Very similar to with women and men. There's a different DNA with women and men, and there's no getting around to it. I served a long time in the military. If you think women are doing the same work as men in the military, you're mentally retarded. You're mentally retarded. Then no matter how much this bullshit you could put, DNA is DNA. The same thing we've been doing since day one in America. Race doesn't matter. Look at us. Racial tensions are getting worse and worse in America. So maybe, and this also comes with National Socialism, where even Adolf Hitler looked at it, where we have to start looking at DNA. We have to start looking at the force of nature. And what is one of them? Well, gender is real and race is real. You don't believe it? We'll see where it goes, but we'll keep. But I think you also would agree, especially the nigger from Nigeria, he hit the lotto to now be living in America. And look what he says. Boom, boom. Who should be, think about this, who should be the most afraid of a revolution collapse in America, and who should be the most happy? The most happy would be white men. Literally, you should be, if I think about it, one of the reasons that a lot of white men, you can't get women, is women are genetically engineered to prefer men to provide and protect. So if there's a society that's pretty safe, and thanks to your high taxes, because these American cucks love to do high taxes, women can now financially be independent and they're safe. It's hard to get women when women realize they don't need a man. And the system is mainly against white men. So this is where you could show that America is not a white supremacist country. I truly believe that there was a collapse or civil war revolution in America, the happiest group of people are probably going to be white men, because they're also the biggest group that are leaving America. Ding, ding, ding. But what about the other group? I'm telling you, if you're a woman, if you're a racial minority, if you're an immigrant, life is going to suck for you. Why? Because you were spoiled. You were spoiled. These people complaining in America, very spoiled. If you don't believe me, let's keep going, and then I'll read the comments.
Regional war, they're now bombing.
I mean, it's just going everywhere.
Everywhere.
He wants to, but Trump has had this dream of being a dictator.
Global
He wants
dictator.
to be this MacArthur. It's this grandiose thing.
Yeah.
That bomb them. He just wants, it's like he's cosplaying a president.
And with that, like, I'm like, wait, what is the impact in the economics? Because if that's happening and you're seeing that, like, what does that bleed out and look like to the average person, like the everyday person? How does that manifest?
What I would say is be very careful, because our stock market right now is mainly propped up by AI companies. Our economy is mainly propped up by AI companies. We've bet so big on AI. It is a bubble. Eventually that bubble is going to burst. Yeah. And the two industries that we are currently propping up in America is incarceration, the mass incarceration of immigrants. That's the new business we're in.
And what I think is some of the stuff that she's saying, I don't disagree with. And this is where you really know you're aligned, when you start agreeing with people from different areas. Like, you could be a white American and listen to a Chinese person and be like, wow, I actually agree with that Chinese person. Wow, look at these black, I guess you'd call them black liberals. Look at these. Then you start realizing where the truth is. But they're right. This American economy, what did I say? We are nothing but a corporation. We don't care about each other. They don't care about, and even the people now, that's the difference between our forefathers. They came to America with a shovel in one hand and a gun in the other, and maybe also a Bible. The point was, it was hard work. It was dangerous. Now you have immigrants coming in. They're economic immigrants. They just want to leech off the system. So it's all about the money. So what did I say is the linchpin for the collapse? Remember, collapse, revolution, civil war. It will go down this. It's economics. It's like you're knowing that. Once this economic gravy train stops, you're going to see violent calamity you've never seen before, and you're going to say it's happening. But you're seeing it. So look at it. And I've said this many times. I've been on other shows where I've had CNN or these liberal people that we are not the same ideology, but we're agreeing with it. But what they're talking about with the economy, it's true. It's going to happen.
That's the only new business we've created in the last decade, other than AI.
No.
And we're building AI plants, which are polluting our country, and betting on that as the future. And the third thing is, you've got these billionaires, these oligarchs, who think they can eventually replace all currency globally with crypto. And so they think they can just create this crypto economy.
And I want to say that, and I've said that many times, where the war, people think, these dumb MAGA people, like, the people destroying this country are these liberals. So look at these black people. I'm not saying I'm my political ideology are with them. Do you really think these pink-haired feminists or these homo boy liberals or these blacks are really controlling America? You really think the people that are controlling America and the world is you follow the money? Who are these globalists? And I truly believe, and that's what I've always said, the far right and the far left, we actually could unite, not in the long run, but in the short run. But I truly believe that what's happening in America is more of a class war. So even though I look at these three black people, I don't consider them my people. We're not politically ideology on the same wavelength, but I agree. You call it the enemy of my enemy, whatever you want. The same thing, you could look at Russia and China, the enemy of my enemy. They're not the primary enemy. The people that are truly going to destroy your life, I keep saying it, the globalist government, the globalist corporations. These people, these black people, they don't have power. Same thing with these liberal yo-yos. Follow the money, and the money is with the globalists. To include people on the right, people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, be very careful. Donald Trump is part of this. If you're a billionaire, it's very difficult for you not to be part of that club.
Where you trade everything in blockchain and all this other bullshit and replace all currency with that. In the end, what happens is they get to be trillionaires and a lot of people end up poor. And so I think we are losing our empire. Our empire is fading. Donald Trump is a fading dictator who's basically running us out.
I just want to comment though, what I don't, and again, I haven't seen the whole video, but what I don't want to hear, even though here it is, the answer is Gavin Newsom or the Democrats. You're meaning at the end of the day, I'll do a video, more and more Americans are leaving, or you're going to have to give up on federal politics. It's going to be staying. But that's the problem. People get into that same thing. Now, I'm sure they're going to say, what we need to do now is elect a really good Democrat. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And I think a lot of MAGA people are probably real, or no, you still hear these dumb MAGA people. Man, JD Vance, Marco Rubio, man, they're gonna really no. I'm not a fan of JD Vance. I mean, Donald Trump, like him or not, I still prefer him over JD Vance or Marco Rubio. It's going downhill, people. Sooner or later, Americans are going to realize voting ain't going to work. It's just not going to fix this system.
Wringing out whatever was good in this country, and he's going to turn us into a third world country. America is going to be the ghetto because of Donald John Trump. And I liken the election in 20.
Well, I mean, this is where the blacks go. I mean, you know it. The blacks love victimhood. Even the Chinese are like, these black people have been spoiled in America.
2024 to that scene in Sinners where those people were in the juke joint, and you know what the rule is when you're in a juke joint: don't let the vampires in.
Yeah.
And these motherfuckers let the vampires in.
Yeah.
And it never goes well. When
You think China is looking at this and going, wait, this is why we're going to start? Because you're seeing a big presence around Africa. You see Nigeria helping to build infrastructure.
Oh yeah, you know who China is in Sinners? The indigenous people. They said, we told you that there were some vampires over there, and we.
So yeah, let me talk to you about China and Africa. I've got some Chinese friends that are working in Africa. The Chinese go to Africa, it's for the money, for the resources, but they're like, there have been many, so they're not showing on here. Maybe in the future I'll show you some video. There are some pretty racist videos of the Chinese in Africa dealing with African people like they're monkeys. But what China's doing is very strategic. They are investing heavily in Africa, again, for the resources, and they're building relations sometimes better than America because there's no strings attached. Again, that's the Chinese model. That's what I'm also saying about China. Doesn't have this view of being a military dictatorship like America does. China is not really concerned about your country, which is also why they're pretty fucking racist. They don't care about your country. So they don't care about your religion, what you do. They just want to make money. And so that's good and that's bad in many facets, but that's the way it is. But are they heavily invested in Africa? Absolutely. Are they doing it better than America is? They actually are. But this thing of the Chinese are like, oh yeah, no way. Yeah, the Chinese are like, man, those are some dumb monkeys in Africa, but they got a lot of good resources, so we're gonna work with them.
Said they was dancing an Irish jig. If you don't want to hear it, we're out. They're waiting for everything to take place in the juke joint and just waiting to clean up the pieces. China, we are entering the great China century. China will win the Game of Thrones.
Wow, that's deep.
Gavin Newsom, what do you think?
Oh, geez, here we go. Talking about that. Now we're really going to look at some low DNA retardation talk right now. Let's see if a Democrat or another yo-yo Republican's going to fix this system. Ain't going to happen.
I mean, I like Gavin's energy.
And he seems like the guy. He's so pissed at Trump. I swear, when his speeches, he just goes, "Yo, I want to knock him out. I just want to hit him." I think Gavin might be the guy. That's all. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
he
talks a good game.
He talks a good. I'm not saying he's perfect. He's slick, but he has the look.
Yeah.
And,
he does.
And he's angry enough at him.
That's a crazy even thought, right? That he has the look.
No, but there's
Americans
a look.
are visual.
We're visual. There is a look, though.
As if other people aren't visual. I mean, more low IQ people talking here.
That's what I'm saying. That's
well, you see Pritzker trying to lose weight to get the look. Who's that? Pritzker's trying to lose weight, and JB Pritzker, he's trying to lose weight quick.
There is a look. That's a crazy thing. Yeah. Because, because a lot of presidents are tall too.
Yes.
So that,
and he's taller than Trump.
Oh, he's taller than him. Damn. Yeah. So that is a
which
big
will intimidate Trump.
You don't think Trump will even think about this third term?
Yes, he will.
Him and Bannon.
I know I've heard him. But
yes, he will.
Oh yeah.
But Trump is not going to leave.
How could he possibly do that?
How could he possibly do any of the things he's doing? Those tariffs are illegal. The war in Iran is illegal.
So this is what. Now I've said this before. We are entering a phrase, and again, trust me, these three black people, again, this is where I've been in China for too long, where China will, a lot of these racist comments the Chinese tell me, it's now in my head, black people are really low IQ. I didn't say that's coming from the Chinese, but there's some low IQ people here. But I want to let you know why our system is going to change. And there were some retarded MAGA people. MAGA people also has a lot of retarded people. And we're all waiting for Trump, who's been in office now for not quite 6 years. Remember, this is second term, not quite 6 years. But where are the arrests? Besides the great cover-up with the Epstein files, where are the big arrests? And I said he's not going to make any arrests. Remember, and this is going on with the Gavin Newsom, meaning our political system is about to change forever. What do I mean by that? Donald Trump's not going to make any major arrests. We're talking domestic high leaders. Why? It's for the same reason that these fascist governments, and I did the episode before, how Putin was picked. And it's the same thing in China, where the Chinese party is elected through a democracy, but it's only internal. The best example would be like a mafia. A mafia internally will vote who's going to be the next leader. The regular people don't get a vote, but the internal mafia, they get to vote. Very similar with China. And the point being is one of the biggest worries, safeguards, or issues you have to have when you're a leader in a fascist country is when you retire or leave, because some of them don't want to do it. That's why Xi Jinping is who's going to protect you. And so you have to have that. So what does that mean with Trump? There is a reason why Trump is not making any of these major arrests, because he knows it's coming for him. I'm going to give you another example. Remember, I kept saying you're going to see things you've never seen before in America, because America is the land where everyone comes. You're going to see in the near future very high-ranking people in America. These could be government officials. These could be billionaires, whatever. They are going to leave America and they're going to immigrate to non-extradition countries from America. The point being is, we've always said this, we're like the Democrats and the Republicans are the same thing. We say that all the time. They're like the WWF. They're fake in front of us, but in behind closed doors, they're the same people. There's a reason for that, because they need to protect themselves. You don't ever hear any of these Democrats or Republicans going really hard on the other. Why? Because it comes around. So that's why no major arrest. But sooner or later, this tension is going to happen. It's unavoidable. And when this happens, you are going to see two things. One, you're going to start seeing very high-ranking people leave America, and they're going to go to non-extradition territories where the American government can't get them. And then you're going to start seeing America slide into a sense of dictatorship, civil war, because sooner or later, the Americans are going to realize why are we not stopping the corruption? Look at the dumb MAGA people. The whole Epstein file is like, whatever. I mean, it's like, notice the Iran war. The Iran war is a great cover-up of the Epstein files. But sooner or later, the corruption in America is going to get more and more to where the American people are going to say, listen to the government. If you don't take charge, we're going to get a violent revolution. And then you're going to start seeing the governments start fighting with each other. But then it's going to come to a collapse. But that's why you see all the time, they're like, why is it that it feels like on the center stage that the Republicans or Democrats are battling it out, but they're not really seem to be doing anything to each other. And it feels like behind closed doors, they're kind of shaking each other's hands because they're conserving, they're protecting their safety. Because once Donald Trump, so if Donald Trump knows if he pushes it too hard, he's going to be worried about his safety. You're going to see it. This system, though, eventually is going to get to the point that Americans realize that voting is meaningless. It's meaningless. It's not going to change anything.
Enriching himself off of crypto while he's president. Melania having $ Melania, which looks like Melania, having that. And I mean, all of this is illegal. Everything. He's just like, I do illegal. And
It is
come and get me.
literally.
It's all illegal.
So you think he's going to try for a third term?
I
know he said it. I don't want people think like I know he said this.
Again, now if you want to see arrest, again, if anyone studied Putin, the reason why Putin was picked by Boris Yeltsin, because Boris Yeltsin trusted Putin, and Putin, what's the word I'm looking for? He was a man of his word. And he said, Boris Yeltsin, when you step down, you and your family and any of your close allies will be protected. Because it's dangerous. People don't realize, just like you've probably seen the movie Mafia, it is too in China. It's a very dangerous game. And that's also the reason why you're starting to, where you're seeing America, a lot of women want to do politics. Because politics is fun. Politics is dangerous. And once it gets dangerous, you're going to see women don't want to get in politics. Meaning, once this government starts collapsing, it's going to get dangerous. But the point being is Trump could go another round and say, listen, I've overstepped my bounds and they're going to come after me. And maybe as America is already going toward collapse, he's going to say, fuck it, I'm now a dictator. It could be. But the point being is we go back and forth. Think about it. Aren't you so tired of hearing stupid Republicans, these would be MAGA, and stupid Democrats always saying the same fucking thing every year? It's Democrats, it's Republicans, it's Democrats. You hear from the same stupid MAGA people. They're like, the country is falling apart and it's all because of the Democrats. Really? And so the Democrats, so all through America, it's always been the Democrats' fault. And the Republicans have been great, these sleazy communist, these cocksuckers. Remember, I worked for Boeing in China. Boeing, the military-industrial complex, the Republicans love these organizations. They love the military-industrial complex. But the point is, we hear the same. We're like, wait, and every time the Republican gets in charge, he uses an excuse that the country screwed up because the Democrats and the Republicans and the Democrats and the Republicans. And at the same time, you hear this bullshit and you pay your taxes, until you see more and more Americans leave the country. What we're starting to realize is if these people really blame the other person, then why aren't we putting these people in jail, right? Wouldn't that make sense? So if you're the president, whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, and you say the same thing, the reason why America is corrupt, the reason why America is so bad, it's because of the Democrats or the Republicans. We'll lock these motherfuckers up. China does it. I'm not saying I don't know how their legal system is. I'm telling you, I've seen it firsthand. Xi Jinping on the crackdown, he is putting motherfuckers in jail. It's obvious. It is so obvious. So let's just be obvious. In America, is our government corrupt, yes or no? The Republicans accuse the Democrats of being corrupt. The Democrats accuse the Republicans of being corrupt. So when the fuck are we going to make these arrests? We never see them. We never see them. Now, you might see them at the low level. Why? Because they're not a threat. Low level. But we're talking some major congressmen and senators, some billionaires, and you don't see it. You never see these people. Why? Because you don't bite the hand that feeds you. They're in the same path. So Donald Trump, I think, is going to make a big decision. Either one, he's going to do the same bullshit, or he's going to break away. But if he breaks away, this country's got to go to fascism because it's the only way to protect them. And I think a lot of MAGA people would say, do it. What do I think? This system's going down either way. It's going to happen. But I'm telling you two things. Either Donald Trump is just going to drift off to do this bullshit because him and his family have made a shitload of money. And then it's going to be the Democrats, the same bullshit. But he didn't put anyone in jail, so he's kind of safe. Or he's going to say, fuck it, let's do this. But he knows if he does it and he starts really cracking down, him and his family are going to be in jeopardy safety-wise. So he's going to say, I'm running for a third term. I'm running for a fourth term. I'm running sixth. Sounds like Putin and Xi Jinping. Welcome. That's how it is. When an empire starts collapsing, it's going to get dangerous. But I'm still waiting on these major arrests. They're not going to happen, people. And I'll tell you, the Iran war is a great way to get the news cycle away from as a former FBI agent, I still don't think the American public realizes on a public platform, these Epstein files, I don't think we'll ever see that in our lifetime. And the FBI, or like Dan Bongino blocks me, the FBI is like, nah, not important. The Iran war is important. Those Epstein files could be like 3 years of news cycles. 3 years. And it's like, now it's like Epstein files. And then this cocksucker Trump. Are we still talking about this guy? Can't we move on? Oh my God. I mean, does anyone need any more body language than that from a human intelligence standpoint to know there's a cover up there? But the Iran war is a great way to move on with that topic. And these MAGA people are some dumb fucks too. These MAGA people are just like, yep, Iran. Like, there gets to the point of time that I do believe MAGA is turning into a bit of a cult, that whatever Donald Trump says, they'll do, and they're ceasing to use common sense. But I would say if you want to make America better, those Epstein files, an investigation into them, which is a lot about corruption in America, versus the Iranian government threat to us, I would probably say investigating the Epstein files would be a much more public good to American citizens than attacking Iran with these nuclear weapons or whatever would happen, without a doubt. But that's not happening.
No,
like, maybe I could.
Steve Bannon's like, we're gonna do whatever. He's like the town drunk. Let me tell you.
So no, just to be like, so do you think that's something that he would actually literally? Wow.
Yeah.
Because the only way Donald Trump can ensure he never goes to prison is to be president.
Yeah.
Being president.
Interesting. So again, I didn't see this video here, but she is right. Meaning, you've got two. Hey, we've all seen. Remember Obama, hope, change. Nothing. There was no change, but that's safety. And that's the bullshit that American people, I'm going to make big changes. No, you're not. It's going to be status quo, but that's safe. But did Obama really come in there and make any changes? No, same shit. Probably one of the how. And that's another thing. How we elected a black man to be the president of America is proof on itself that we are the least racist country on earth, and the white people are the least racist. Do you think Taiwan? I say Taiwan because we always say Taiwan and Japan. They're all good democracies. You think they would elect a black man to be president? They wouldn't even let a black man become a citizen. But I just want Americans to understand that, because a lot of Americans don't have experience in the world. I don't think the typical Americans understand that we elected a black man to be our president. And what does that mean? We are the least racist country in the world, and white people are the least racist people in the world. And he was a horrible president, and by all means. But again, what was that change? Not much. I do that clip. Remember that movie I keep saying about? I didn't watch the whole movie. I like the Rambo first one. I like Rambo First Blood. I think it was really cool, the Vietnam story. The rest went to shit. But there was that movie when he was in Burma and he was talking to these Christian, Mormons, evangelists. They were going to Myanmar to save the world. And Sylvester Stallone, Rambo, said, "Are you bringing any weapons? Are you bringing any guns?" And these Mormons or Christians, they said, of course not. We're not bringing any guns. And what he said, and what did he say? Then you're not changing anything. You're not changing anything. And the point being is these presidents who come in there and they say hope, and they're not changing anything, people. If you're going to really change something in America, you're going to have to go up this system. And Donald Trump is going to do two things. He's going to either, because he's made a shitload of money with corruption anyway, him and his wife and a kid. They've made billions off the White House it is. He may just ride this thing out. He's like, listen, I made a shitload of money. I did the best I can, whatever. And he's going to leave. And nothing's really fucking changed. Then it's going to be the Democrats, no arrest. But it's going to go sooner or later, the system's going to collapse. Or he might say, like I said, he's like, I said I'm going to change this system and I'm going to do it. But if he starts arresting major people, we're definitely not going to do another election year, because Donald Trump knows that when he throws the axe against these opponents, if he steps down, he's done. And so either way, what I'm trying to tell you to the American people is I don't think living abroad, seeing America now, it is so obvious. This is a sinking ship. Even these people in America, the black Americans, it is what it is. But I'm telling you, when the system gets bad, you're going to see racism to a whole new level. And this whole thing of we Americans, that's done. I mean, it's going to be a dog-eat-dog world, and people are going to be fighting and killing each other.
Is how he stays out of prison.
He said if he doesn't, he goes, if I don't get midterms, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna go to jail. He said it in the speech. I was watching him, and you're going to lose midterms.
He is.
Because I think
well, if there are midterms.
Yeah.
That are legitimately run, right? If they don't,
because he's always trying to erase certain things,
right?
Too.
They're trying to do national emergency. He's toying around with the idea. Could I have a national emergency and postpone the midterms because that's
because
what
of a war?
Zelensky did. If there's a war,
if there's a war, you can't have a.
But I think
an election.
People are waking up because the Supreme Court shut down. Like a week and a half ago, he asked for something. I can't remember. He was pissed, and the Supreme Court was like, "Nah, you're not getting that."
I wouldn't. And the thing is, I wouldn't count on John Roberts and them to stop Trump. I mean, the problem with the United States now, and it's ironic because we're in our 250th birthday of the Declaration of Independence, is that we have monarchists. Just like Iran has monarchists who are like dreaming of putting the Shah back on the throne. We have monarchists who really want a king, and I think one of them is John Roberts of the Supreme Court. I think these.
So one of the things I've said many times is the problem in America is we are being run by oligarchs, and specifically with money. But this notion that we're a republic anymore, we're not a republic. Our Constitution's a joke. We don't have free speech. I mean, even the dumb MAGA people are like, thank God for Elon Musk for giving us free speech. A private businessman giving us Twitter X to give us free speech. We don't have a republic anymore. Democracy's a joke. We are run by oligarchs. It's going to get worse. And then if you look at the people, like I said, and that's also, like I said, about the divide and conquer, whereas we've become such an individualistic society that it's easy to manipulate us and control. But I'm telling you, and I should have done the video, I'll do a video soon on it. More and more Americans are realizing the only thing to do is leave America. But I mean, if you look to the Republicans and you look to the Democrats, you realize, and that was that video I first did with the two people arguing. One's a communist and one's this typical greedy Republican. That's who represents us. That's the Republicans and that's the Democrats. That's not a good story. And like I said, one of the issues that National Socialism focuses on is unity. I said this many times. However harsh and tyrannical you think the Chinese government is to the Chinese people, and I'm not going to argue with you, it's been harsh. What they are that is totally aligned, that the future of China, just like China's past, must remain Chinese. But when you have a society in America where they don't mind replacing you, they don't really care if you have children, you don't have children, you'll be replaced, or this is replaced, or mixed race kids, they don't. That's dangerous, and we're seeing that. But that, whether it's Japan, whether it's in India, whether it's China, once you as a white person go out there, you'll realize you'll always be a foreigner. You'll always be a foreigner in these places. And those countries belong to them. So now the question is, who does Europe belong to? That's the dangerous part. And sooner or later, this system is going to break.
those six, they would very much like to have a king, and they would like it to be a conservative Republican because that's their ideology.
Do you think who do you think is the next runner up? I know there's been talks of Stephen A. Smith running for president. You don't
Yo, is you weird?
All right. There was another, I wanted to get there. There was another video. I might play it again. It was the same three people, but I guess I picked that clip because they were talking about China. There was another clip, same thing because it's extended, and they really got into racism in America. And they said the same thing. The white man's racist. Black people have it so bad. That's what I thought also in the clip, but there's two clips. But again, the reason I did that first one is because I thought it was interesting them talking about China, and they don't get China. Remember, if you support China, and when I say support China, I mean their ideology, basically you're looking at Adolf Hitler with the neo-Nazis or the National Socialism. I don't have a problem, I've changed, but that is ethno-nationalism. So I say again, you do see these dumb white liberals or black people, whatever in America, they're like, man, I really like that system in China. Well, their system called an ethno-state. And the only country that really has that system in the West would be Israel. Israel is also an ethno-state. It is a country for, by, and of the Jews, both by race and both by religion, which ironically is also a country that we all have to respect, right? But if you really look at Israel, if you're not Jewish, you're not wanted. I find that to be so weird. Whereas in the non-Western world, that's just the way it is. But we would look at them as, oh, they're not developed. Even though Japan's a very developed country, Singapore's a developed country, but they're all ethno-nationalism. So that's what I'm saying. If you support ethno-nationalism, then like myself, like I said, I don't believe we've ever been betrayed by Israel. And specifically, Israel is going to look out for Israel first. Israel is going to look out for their people first. Similar to China. That's good. I actually look sometimes to the Chinese people or look to the Israelis, and sometimes I'm jealous of them because our government, they don't care about us. They will sell us out. So this war in Iran, from Israeli perspective, this could be a good thing for Israel. For America, I don't see much benefits at all. We have bigger problems at home. We have bigger problems with China. And oh yeah, there's another clip I'm going to show you next time. It's interesting. Sean Ryan did a clip. I'm going to do another clip episode in the future, and it's about Israel and China working together. And there could be a time in the future that once Israel doesn't need America anymore, doesn't need blood and treasure anymore in America, and they've built up, they want to become a superpower in the Middle East. Their relation with China is better than you think. And I really think at the end of the day, like I keep saying, Patriots betrayed. Who betrayed us? I really keep going back to the white man. I mean, literally, look at the white man. The same people that built America, that built Europe, the white, Christian, heterosexual white man that built up Europe, England, Germany, and America are the same people that will sell us down the river. Look at Donald Trump. He's that white guy. Now, some MAGA people are still drink the Kool-Aid and say, I disagree with you, David. I still think Donald Trump's the best thing ever. Well, I'm not going to argue with you. I can't put another political candidate above him. I'm not, J.D. Vance or the Democrats, but he's deviating. Donald Trump is deviating, meaning from the path, and deviating fast. But he's a white guy. And is he putting America first? These things are not America first at all. Think I'm wrong? We'll see. Let's just see any more questions. I see Mighty Man, she's laughing at Steve because he's on record screwing up. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the reason I went longer on the black people, it's not like I'm getting educated by them, is I like the part where they talked about China first, but I missed another clip. There's another clip of them talking about the typical victim card, that America's so racist, white people so racist, it's so tough. And it's like, well, why don't you go back to fucking Africa? Have you ever thought about that? And how many times do you hear these niggers? Now I'm getting angry, so I'm using the nigger word, but it's an impolite word and you shouldn't use it. Now you hear these niggers in America saying, Why should I go back to Africa? I was born in America. I was born in America. I went to China. What's that stopping you? You know, people all around the world are immigrating to the West. They weren't born in the West. So this excuse that you were born in a place, no, you're not going back to Africa because it's a shithole. And I'll tell you something, those African niggers will eat up those American niggers. Those American niggers, we have spoiled them. But that's the clip. I wish it's another one. But they go on a tirade of America's a racist country and white people so racist. And that Nigeria, now remember, the other black guy, I don't know him, and maybe I shouldn't call him a nigger, and that was probably impolite. I don't know him. But the guy in the black, he immigrated from Nigeria. So he left Nigeria, he came to America. Basically, he won the lotto. And now he's shitting on America. Do you know if you're an American and you move to China and you start talking shit about China, the Chinese people, everything, you're going to be in a world of hurt. You will be in a world of hurt. But this fucking nigger from Africa comes to America and starts shitting on white people and saying this, go back to Africa, you fucking nigger. But the other black guy, I don't know, and I could be wrong about his background. And I don't really remember, if I remember that other clip, I don't remember. But Joy Reid and that guy, oh man, same thing. Black, it was victimhood. White people are racist. Then get the fuck out of here. I left America. No one's forcing you to be in America. Even our forefathers left Europe, meaning immigration is part of human history. Human beings are always immigrating. So this excuse of, well, I was born here, I can't leave. Well, you know, our forefathers left Europe to form America. I left America, go to China. That's an excuse. You know it. And that's, I've said again, once you live in the non-Western world, you will realize that in America, women, racial minorities, and immigrants are spoiled beyond belief. That's why they don't want to leave. Okay, let me see if there's anything. She's laughing, real. Okay, David Baumblatt from Terrabin's Leadership. I appreciate your support. We'll probably next episode, we'll probably talk about the war. The war is going to build up. Mark my words. Afghanistan, Iraq, how did that go? Complete failure. What do you think Iran's going to be? I don't want to talk too much, but I actually hope Trump, one, puts boots on the ground, and two, I hope the draft comes. I really hope the military draft comes for America. You are going to see some big bullshit, especially from the MAGA people that are so patriotic. When the draft comes, you're going to see so many excuses. But the thought of boots on the ground and a military draft in America, personally, I actually would like to see it. I think it'll be the best thing. But anyway, until then, to the Patriots, lead to victory.